It's the first day of June, which is National Indigenous History Month in Canada, a time to recognize the rich history and heritage of First Nations, Inuit and Métis people. Knowing and acknowledging the past and its ongoing impacts is the first step towards healing and reconciliation. Manisa Danabalan joins us live with more. Hey, Manisa.
Hey, Kelly. Throughout this month, Canadians are encouraged to learn more about Indigenous history through local organizations and by joining events. It's National Indigenous History Month, a day to celebrate the accomplishments of Indigenous people like artists, athletes, doctors, advocates, and many more. In 1996, June 21st, which was summer solstice, was proclaimed National Aboriginal Day in Canada. Decades later, in 2017, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau renamed it National Indigenous Peoples Day. The whole month of June was declared National Indigenous History Month in 2009.
Our people have endured so much trauma and pain. I don't need to remind any of my people, but we are still strong and we are still here, and our bloodline will keep running as long as our mothers and women continue to be caretakers.
But it's also a time to reflect on Indigenous history. The recent discovery of hundreds of unmarked graves at the sites of former residential schools across Canada reminded us of the genocide and oppression Indigenous people survived for centuries, when children were taken away from their families against their will. It sparked widespread outcry, protests, and immediate calls for action. Now searches at those sites are being planned and underway. But unfortunately, the mistreatment of Indigenous people is still continuing today, like those who live on reserves, where there are still 31 long-term drinking water advisories in effect in 27 communities. So far, since 2015, 139 of those advisories have been lifted.
When I was 12, I was made a promise by Justin Trudeau that he would protect the water. And I'm now 17. That was when I was 12 years old, so quite a bit of time ago. And not much change I've seen, so I'm still fighting for First Nations communities in the water crisis.
Thousands of Indigenous women and girls have also suffered from violence. According to reports, it's believed that as many as 4,000 Indigenous women and girls were killed or went missing over the past 30 years. In 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released its final report, outlining 94 calls to action for the Canadian government. While some progress has been made, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. In a statement today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wrote, "Only when we learn about and honor the rich history and cultures of Indigenous peoples in Canada can we truly walk the path of reconciliation." This month, I invite Canadians to seek out the educational opportunities presented by National Indigenous History Month, engage in local Indigenous-led events, and discover books, movies, and music by Indigenous artists. In addition to attending events, you can also learn more by searching online and finding businesses, Indigenous businesses and artists to support.